Ladies and gentlemen, now to speak about innovation for public good, please welcome Cecilia Skingsley, Head of BIS Innovation Hub, Bank for International Settlements.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you today. And many thanks to Invest HK and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority to give me the invitation. It's actually the third year in a row where I'm here speaking at the Hong Kong FinTech Week. Exciting to be here, and it's especially exciting since we're celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Innovation Hub. And it made me actually reflect on our journey of the hub since it opened 5 years ago. We started just with a handful of employees, and today we have almost 100 members of staff. We opened our 7th center in Toronto, in Canada, earlier this year, adding to those that we already have operating in Asia and in Europe. And our work spans a number of different focus areas, and we already have 40 projects under our belt. So let me say a few words about what we have achieved so far. I'm going to start in the world of payments. So improving cross-border payments is a priority that was set by the G20 countries, governments and central banks a couple of years back. And experimenting with new technology is part of the search for improvements in the cross-border payment space. So operating from our center here in Hong Kong, Project Enbridge, which explores a multi-central bank digital currency, a CBDC for short, platform, which is built on distributed ledger technology, shared among participating central banks and commercial banks. Proud to say that we have now taken this project to a minimum viable product stage. And from the Singapore Center, we are working with central banks and domestic instant payment system operators of India, Malaysia, and Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand to implement Project Nexus. And here we have the ambition to expand across the globe, and we're very pleased with the recent news that the European Central Bank intends to join Nexus as part of their interlinking initiatives. And let me also clarify that we are experimenting with the new technologies, looking for the art of the possible. But any attempt to create new infrastructures and set those in a real-life setting, that requires ability to scale in the sense that countries need to be open and attracted by these opportunities and join in. And for countries to join in, compliance is an absolute feature. It cannot be negotiated away. Each country has to be compliant with rules that we have for global policy objectives. Here I'm thinking about anti-money laundering, counter-finance terrorism, but also that countries that are under any kind of international sanctions will not be allowed in to such financial market infrastructures. In addition, besides payments, we also see prototypes delivered by Project Genesis, which experimented with green bond tokenization, and Project Dynamo, which have delivered an innovative solution for SME finance, been taken to life by the private sector. All these great examples of innovation for public good, and our journeys goes on. The recent years, we have seen some unprecedented innovation in financial technology. Payments are done in completely new ways. Credit scoring improves thanks to better data access and analysis. All in all, digitalized financial services are becoming more user-friendly, affordable, accessible. But still, financial systems also fall short on a number of aspects. Some transactions are much slower than we would like them to be. Many of them still take days to settle. We are dealing with old clearing, messaging, and settlement systems that are a significant source of delays, and compliance can sometimes add to these delays because of many manual steps. They can also be costly because there's a lack of competition as well as the situation with the legacy systems. So all these shortcomings create definitely incentives to improve the current, but also possibly build new systems. And this is where central banks come in, because they play an intricate role in the ecosystems, and we try to be a technological innovation as a force for public good. So let me go a little bit deeper into two of the technology spaces that we are focusing on. Let me say a few words about what we do in tokenization and artificial intelligence. So I've already said to you that people expect everything to be faster, simpler, and cheaper, both domestically and across borders. And central banks are really addressing these expectations. The stability of money and payment systems rest on the firm foundation set by the central banks, and their job is to ensure that all forms of money in the fiat system have the same worth and to maintain the value of currency in the digital world. We call it the singleness of money. And I think it's also fair to say that the importance of the central banks to provide the infrastructure that ensures safe and neutral financial settlements in central bank money is all under reconsideration. And there's a lot of stepping up with this work. Fast payment systems. Across the globe, we have more than 75 of these systems, and central banks have played, in many of these countries, played an important role to make them happen. But going forward, ambitions could be greater, which brings me to the question of tokenization. You can think about the possibility of central bank money, putting that together with commercial bank money and other assets to work seamlessly together. And here we're coming to the idea called unified ledgers. Unified ledgers can be seen as a platform where this can happen. And the tokenization technology that creates digital representations of whatever you need to create a digital representation of could really be a transformative potential according to our view. At the BIS Innovation Hub, we are experimenting with tokenization. So let me say a few words about Project Agora. It's building on the concept of the unified ledger that's been proposed by the Bank of International Settlements. And Project Agora brings together major international currencies. It's the US dollar, euro, yen, the sterling, Swiss franc, Korean won, and Mexican peso. And the current use case we're exploring is cross-border payments in which tokenized commercial bank money are used for payments and tokenized central bank money for settlement, and the idea is to put this on the same programmable platform. Still early days, but stay tuned on this project. I would also like to say a few words about artificial intelligence. We know that artificial intelligence has been around for a while, from robo-advisors to credit assessment and lending. Algorithms and machine learning have already started to change processes of commercial banks. So what is different now compared to recent developments? Well, I think you know the answer already. The important ingredient is data. Today's models and tomorrow's model even more can give access to a lot more data, structured and unstructured, with greater granularity than ever before. And central banks are already exploring the possibilities using the developments to help them become better at meeting their policy objectives. For example, can AI-enabled tools be used for better understanding what's going on in the macroeconomics and financial world to support decision-making decision-making and monetary policy, but also for those central banks who has the mandates to do it, supervision, oversight of payments, and ensuring financial stability. And we are at the Innovation Hub, has a number of projects looking into how we can help central banks in this field. Take Project Aurora, for example, from the Nordic Center. It's about enhancing suspicious transaction monitoring across firms and borders, and it has demonstrated that machine learning can substantially improve detection of complex schemes in money laundering networks. Or Project Gaia from the Eurosystem Center that is working within climate risk analysis. And this is a project that is showing the power of creating intelligent tools to automate data extraction from unstructured environmental and social and governance reports and make it clear to us what is happening in the climate compliance space. Obviously, as with all new technologies, AI introduces risks, and this is something that everybody, including central banks, needs to be on top of and mindful of. And I would say that the collaboration that the central banks are doing is already in the making, and whatever is done to explore these new possibilities must be done with the highest level of compliance and care. Let me also say just a few words about what we have learned when it comes to doing innovation, and I think this is mainly for central banks, but I think it's pretty universal. Learning number one, when experimenting, don't expect everything to work or even be useful. If we take central banks, they are used to behave slowly and cautiously and always strive to make the right decisions. But in order to push boundaries and find new knowledge, central banks needs to embrace failure as a stepping stone to experimentation. So what we try to do is to show how we fail. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And failing forward, I think, is a good spirit that also central banks can look into when then taking things forward. Second, you need to deal with the sensitive issues that comes with innovation. Incumbent interests are strong, and as the ultimate trustees of the monetary system, central banks have the duty to investigate sensitive issues to ensure that public money is fit for the future, even if the conversation sometimes can get a bit difficult. Lesson number 3 is to allow for internal change and not only be a spectator. The role of the Innovation Hub is not only to experiment with the technology, but we also hope to inspire central banks for internal change. And having the feedback loop between innovation and research and policy creates a lot of interesting new conversations across the public sector, but certainly in central banks. Number 4, apply a structured innovation process when developing projects. We are walking the talk here. We are deep into design thinking approaches. Agile management methodologies can help a lot. And last but not least, the dedicated IT environment separated from the rest of the organization's IT environment, that gives a lot of muscles to ensure that an Innovation Hub team has the tools and the flexibility to innovate successfully. We have a dedicated IT environment, and we've opted for a modern and adaptable infrastructure that fosters innovation and collaboration across various locations and various types of stakeholders. And we find that this is a really powerful model to use, and it brings us several advantages. So let me conclude. The Bank for International Settlements General Manager, Augustin Carstens, has said that the word innovation is more than just a word. It has become a very strong theme for central banks around the world. We all operate in a world of rapid change, and also central banks have a duty to follow and to understand new technology and how technology is progressing, and to respond to the changes that society requires. Central banks have a duty to understand and, when it's required, innovate and also possibly build technology. And it's essential to make sure that the new technologies are in the interest of public objectives as well as private objectives. And we don't want to have a situation where the new technologies are causing walled gardens, or more bluntly said, benefiting only a few in our societies. So we are here to help in this field. Our mandate is to explore technology, to develop public goods. Ultimately, it's up for decision makers, legislators, governments in each country to decide what to be changed. But our job is to help, learn, and advise, so those who would like to change, and when change happens, it can happen for the better. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Cecilia.